Hey you guys, this is Jess with Source of Journey, back with another video. I actually wanted to do a second video in correlation with the one that I just posted up about loose lips sink ships. I felt this would be a good piece to tie in to the previous video, because this is going to be more so focused along the lines of those who are within the establishment. Let me just be more clear on what I meant by that in the next piece here. What I mean by that, think of a time when you may have chosen to uproot yourself and take your journey elsewhere. And think of a time where those very individuals that you may have had issues with while working within that establishment somehow felt that there was a need to celebrate, because you, being that good-spirited individual that you are, coming in truly enjoying all that you do and loving what you do and not causing any type of harm or any type of anguish. Yet those individuals that had that sense of seething hate towards you somehow chose to celebrate because they felt like, hey, they won the whatever competition it may have been, some hidden competition they may have had with you, or yay, that goody two-shoes is out the way. You know, it's very sad that people think like this, but sadly enough, in this day and age, people thrive, they love, they live, they breathe, eat, and sleep when it comes to negativity, when it comes to toxicity, when it comes to narcissism, whether it's in the workspace or even if it's in your home space or just simply being out in public. Think about it. The very things we see online, I'm looking at my laptop as an example, you find that a lot of people are drawn to negative scenarios, whether it's someone who's being exposed about something, something being discovered in terms of documents. Someone had said that this individual said A, B, and C, when in all actuality, they may have not said A, B, and C, but, you know, they take it for face value that it has to be true. You know, it just blows my mind. And they take it for face value and not even go back to the source, the individual that it is being discussed in that particular moment in time, or written about in that particular moment in time. They rather just, you know, continue to continue to live, to thrive off of just that negativity. Is that truly where we've come to as a collective in this world? Is this truly how it's going to end? I like to think not, in my opinion. As you see, I'm going to go based off the notes of what I wrote here. It was just one of those things that I was just sitting here working on my laptop, and then something just hit me to go ahead and put this video out too. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what I wrote, and then I'm going to expand on it even further, okay? So I said, don't let your whole happiness be based on when one is away or left, or what you would think is someone's demise. So when you do that, what does that say about you as an individual? What does that say about you in terms of your character and your soul overall? It screams not only pathetic, but it screams a sign of weakness when you are that way. Now, think about it, because the fact of the matter is, for your own happiness, your own sense of excitement to get through your day-to-day, in your case, what that says is that, you know, if you feel that you are more excited when seeing someone go through choosing to step away or remove themselves from an equation, that sense of happiness is what we would consider to be a falsehood. Look it up if you don't know what that word means. So keep in mind that the fact of the matter is that those who are considered chosen, those who truly try to walk the righteous path as much as they possibly can, you know, because let's face it, even those who fall in that arena, they too can have their downfalls. But when it comes to recovery, it's not that difficult. Now, keep in mind that these individuals there are always looking for various points to take a break. A lot of times when they can feel that there is too much negativity or too much surrounding them, as I called in the previous video, hyenas, they sometimes will feel the need to pull back, to revert back. That might be to, take time out in terms of vacation time. That might be just to go hermit. You might hear some of us say hermit. There's a reason for that. Look that up too. But they may choose to say, you know what? I'm done. And might choose to walk away from the scenario altogether. It's all for a good reason. The funny part in all of this is that when you think they've just thrown in the towel and given up, right? Follow me on this one. See, this is where a lot of you guys who fall into this category as far as being the ones to celebrate when someone who's truly genuine walks away from a scenario. The fact of the matter is, when this individual, when they decide to return, and whether it may be with that certain establishment, whether it may be in a different form, but in a more profound position, then what? What do you do then? Is this simply a case where you're gonna decide to just go run back in your corner and seethe, just knowing that, oh wow, they've returned. Whatever shall I do? Is this where you finally come to the realization that all of your lies, your gossip, your slander has been dismantled? What do you do? What really grinds my gears too is the very individuals who do this, whether it may be friends, family, co-workers. Don't even get me started with co-workers. When these very individuals do all of this, only to realize that it's not sticking. Like, why is it not sticking? Especially if it doesn't match up with the individual as far as how they carry themselves and their character. Something that's very telling within itself, don't you think? They use their reasoning for why they treated an individual and try to tie it into that of God. Bad move. Because now you're doing something what most would consider to be blasphemous. Let's talk about that. Whew, I'm ready for that one. Don't be the one who tries to justify your evil actions and say it was God's doing. Because it's not. See, I can truly understand if an individual had actually did something that was harmful, that was cruel, mean, and if someone decides to sever ties, let's play devil's advocate here. Let's say they were one that went around wreaking havoc and causing issues, right? And let's say they decided to sever ties and go elsewhere. One could then say, okay, that had to be God to remove that issue out of the equation because, God obviously sees all, right? But when it's a scenario dealing with an individual who has not done any of the aforementioned details that I've used as examples, and yet they chose to clean their hands and walk because of what you were doing or your crew was doing, or even those who are actually above your crew was doing. That is a completely different ball of wax. Let's talk about it. That, my friend, is not, well, it's God's doing, but in a different way. What do I mean by that? Oftentimes, especially when you're dealing with someone who falls into that group as one of God's chosen, remember what I shared with you guys in previous videos. Individuals are given certain signs, not only the synchronicities, not only the visions, it goes a lot deeper. There's more to it. They're given a nudge on when to make a move. It might not even be when they want it. See, what you fail to realize too is because that very individual that you're thinking like, yes, they're gone. You don't even know what type of inner struggles they dealt with because they may have been struggling with the fact like, oh, I just don't want to let this go. But they know if they're constantly being nudged, it's time to go. There's a reason behind it. And what do? They're not going to question God on it. They're not going to question those nudges. No, they're going to make moves. And they know within self that this very reason why I'm getting these nudges, this very reason why I'm getting these signs and why I'm feeling so compelled to move, they know that there's going to be a bigger piece towards the end of it all for why they are being nudged to make this move. So while you're cheering, clapping, you know, I guess you could say clicking cheap bottles of apple cider with one another, thinking that, you know, yes, this person is gone. Don't think the person doesn't know that this was something that you guys were hoping for. I'm gonna fill you in on what the actual individual is thinking when it comes to that. It's beautiful. And I just saw another crow. So I just entered that little quick clip for you guys so you can actually see it. I love seeing so many different bird types, but that one in particular I see a lot around my space. It's so interesting. But I see other birds too, and I always capture the images of it, but that one in particular I see a lot. So, using myself as an example. When we think about that previous example I mentioned as far as with that company from a while ago, how loose lips sink ships. You know, what's funny is that when going through all of that, we always know. When I say we, meaning like the chosen elect, we always know what is truly taking place even after we've left an establishment. Now, what's very telling also is because of the fact that, you know, even with all of that, we think it's kind of sad, to be quite honest, like with what takes place thereafter, because that says a lot about a person's character, about their soul, when they can base their own sense of happiness off of whether someone is within a certain setting with them. You know, that says a lot in regards to that. You know, I think it's very telling too, especially with the fact that, you know, when you can base your own level of success or what you think to be your own level of happiness, which in this case being tied to a 9-to-5 where you're going through the same motions day in and day out, you can base your own level of getting through a particular position. And the fact that someone who really stood out as a top tier employee alongside you, who you felt was taking the shine from you, but then the fact that they're no longer there, you feel like in some way that you're gonna gain that shine. You know, it's funny because I even knew after I had left that certain establishment, I was getting updates that, oh, so-and-so was asking about you. A lot of people were asking, where did you go? That was a telltale sign within itself. And I say all that to say, you know, again, it all kind of went back to the fact that loose lips sink ships. So, sadly enough, if it wasn't for that, who's to say? I may have not even been privy to those details, what was being discussed behind my back. And I probably would have still been with that certain establishment even longer. But the way I look at it as a blessing within itself, because that was God's way of revealing things to me that I needed to be aware of what was truly taking place. So even though finding out those details was very hurtful, but it was something that needed to be done. I think it was God's way of like ripping off the Band-Aid to let me know what was truly going on behind the scenes and why it was time to go ahead and break ties and move on to the next. I don't know about you guys, but I can never be that type of person who could base my own level of happiness off of someone moving on in terms of their life. Like, I'm not the type of person that feels that my happiness needs to be based off what the next man does, because I understand that my happiness is based on what I choose to do in terms of my life, what type of moves I choose to make in terms of this life. Because at the end of the day, when we came into this plane, we didn't come in knowing any of these individuals in the physical form, right? So for someone to be so negative, so just, you know, breathe, eat, and drink off of negativity, What does that say about you as a being? And now that God has removed that individual from out of your den of hyenas, that is, then what? What are you gonna do now? What's even more funny, I would say this whole scenario had opened up a can of worms like no other. Because now it has those who are above these individuals, such as executive management and such. Now they have now shifted gears and they're focused on these individuals to say, okay, what's really going on? And there's been several reports made on these individuals from what I heard too. And it's so funny because whenever you move yourself in the equation, it's never fails. Whenever someone who's truly a good individual removes themselves from the equation, you find that these very individuals that chose to click up, they start to turn on one another. That's when it gets interesting. And I won't be paying attention to it. Not anything that I care about. And I've chosen to not pay attention to it because it's not anything that is of importance to me in terms of what my purpose is. It was an experience that I had to go through. And it was something that had to, in some way, teach them more about themselves. And, anything that follows thereafter that happens to them or in their life, or maybe anything that happens to them in terms of their loved ones. Because let's be honest, karma doesn't lose an address. And that's not for me to decide. That's God, right? That's the spirit realm's decision on what they decide to do to take care of it and take care of those individuals. All I can say is that, they should have just taken heed to the warning. I say all this to say, even for someone who is dealing with a similar scenario that I've dealt with in the past. If you are currently dealing with something similar to the story I shared with the loose lips sink ships, or if you, in fact, have dealt with something similar to like what I mentioned in reference to that video, just know that, if your heart is pure, your heart is right, if your intentions are right, and you went in and give it your all, and didn't do anything to bother anyone, and you didn't go in with any ill intentions, or you didn't have any, darkness in terms of your heart, your soul. And just know God sees it all, baby. He sees it all. He does. The spiritual realm, they see it all. And just know, again, karma does not lose an address. And it's not a battle that you have to worry about. It's a battle that God and the spiritual realm is going to take care of. And that's just going to be a lesson that they have to learn. What are you guys' thoughts about that? About the notion of not letting your whole happiness be based on when one is away or left? Definitely leave your comments in the comment section below if you haven't done so already. I noticed quite an uptick in responses on my Instagram messaging area. Definitely keep that coming because I think that actually works quite well for you guys. So I definitely enjoy that. Emails is just as good, so if you want to send the emails, that's fine as well. Consultations are still open, so if it is something that is of interest to you, definitely take advantage of it. I actually only have one spot available as of today, and let's see. Okay. As for the next 2 days, currently as of now, they're booked, and that doesn't surprise me. Those days tend to book up pretty quick. Thursday, Fridays, never fails. But we do have a new week that's going to be approaching soon enough, so definitely take advantage of it if it is something that is of interest to you. But as always, I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts, and in this case, I am definitely sending you guys with love and light. And again, I'll see you in the next video. Be blessed, you guys.